and I had this great spill, and now I get to do it again because we are muted. Okay. So first of all, thanks to the Association of Behavior Analysis International Autism Special Interest Group. Justin, Dr. Leaf is affiliated with that, and so am I. And the Autism Special Interest Group has donated their time and expertise in hosting these webinars or providing the content over the course of the next 4 months. The Behavior Change Institute is hosting all the technology for us, and so we are grateful to them in doing that for us. The UNM CDD is hosting a room, so there's many of us here in the same room together watching this webinar. And then we also have the New Mexico Association for Behavior Analysis, who is going to host these webinars long term. We're going to archive them and have them on our website, and you'll be able to access them at a future date. So check with us about that. But the website is nmaba.org. Okay. So then the last little bit of information, if you're coming in, please mute yourself, keep your microphone muted. If you have a question or a comment, please type it into the chat box feature. Dr. Pollard and myself will be tracking those, and at the end we'll try to have some time to review those questions and allow Dr. Leaf to chat more about those specific questions. So other than that, in lieu of time, I had this great introduction for Dr. Leaf. Just know that he's a great gentleman. He works for the Autism Partnership Foundation, conducting research and overseeing the research for them. And from that, I'm going to go ahead and give him the time to let him chat about our topic tonight about introductions of behavior analysis and what it is.
Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me? Sean, good to go? See you nodding. Perfect.
Yep.
As Sean said, my name is Justin Leaf, and I work for our Autism Partnership Foundation. I'm the Director of Research here, and so my job is conducting studies for children with autism, evaluating ABA-based procedures, as well as doing some clinical work consulting to schools and home programs nationally and internationally. And today, let's make sure this works. Today, I'm going to be the first one, as Sean said, in a series of talks. I'm talking about that applied behavior analysis is just more than a rigid set of procedures and practices that we commonly see out there. And it's really science that's progressive and should be individualized for the clients that we work with. Today's talk is really based upon 3 big papers that my colleagues and I have written over the past year. The first one is Applied Behavior Analysis is a Science and therefore Progressive, which really just talks about, how to implement quality intervention. We also did a paper on looking at social stories and the proof and methodological rigor behind them, and really looking at it as a way to promote evidence-based science, which I believe either Mary Jane Weiss or Bob Ross will be talking about at a later date. And then finally, another paper that we wrote was looking at 2 ABA-based procedures and evaluating them, both in terms of effectiveness and where they came from. Throughout the course of these papers, I've worked with many great professionals in the field, some of them which are going to be talking later on in the next 4 months. You'll see Mary Jane Weiss, Bob Ross will be giving a talk later on, but other people like Fred Volkmer, Shalali Rosales, Trish Smith, Sandy Harris, John McCacken, Mitch Town, Ron Leaf, and Todd Streff. And I thank them for all their contributions in the field and in helping us really formulate this talk today. It should be noted that the papers were with their contribution, but they don't know what I'm talking about today. So anything I say is really on me today. It's not a representation of them, their values, or their opinions. As I consult and give talks publicly and look at school programs and home programs and clinic programs, university programs, a lot of times I hear the following kind of statements. I don't like ABA. ABA is not for my child. Why should we do ABA? ABA is not good. ABA creates robots. And I'm usually, or used to be, really taken back by this. How can you not like ABA? It's what I love. We see a lot of improvement. How can you not like it? And then I started saying, well, there has to be a reason. Let's find out that reason. So I asked parents or professionals, what is their what do they what do they define ABA as? Why don't they like it? What has been their experiences? And I found many different kinds of reasons why people don't like ABA out there. First, I hear that ABA is a new approach, and it's too new to really say that it's an effective approach. And for me, I have to go into teaching that, ABA and the principles which are founded in behaviorism have been around for many years. It's just not the last 20 or 30 years that we've been implementing ABA-based procedures for individuals. It's really been around the early and late 1800s. And we look at the works of Thorndike and Watson and Skinner and Pavlov and people like this that really helped formulate our science. So to say that it's new is not really an accurate statement. It's been around for a long time. Well, the other thing I hear is that applied behavior analysis, ABA, really doesn't help children. It makes them into robots. And I find that kind of, not accurate. That applied behavior analysis, the whole purpose of it is to help the individual that we're working with. Unlike some other science that look, at larger, bigger scale pictures maybe, ABA is looking at how do we help this individual, what's important to them, and how do we make their lives better. So the whole context of ABA is improving the lives of individuals that we work with. In doing so, we're looking at how the environment, where the child or the adolescent or the adult lives, how that impacts their behavior. So what are the antecedents, as we say, the things in the environment that may cause the behavior, as well as consequences. So are they getting reinforced or rewarded for engaging in certain behavior? Or are they getting punished and they're not engaging in that behavior? Behaviorists and behavior analysts, I'm always looking at the way that the environment is impacting behavior. To me, another thing I hear is that, well, it has to be done for so many hours. You hear anywhere from 40 hours a week or 30 hours a week. And I don't get where this really came from. I know where it came from, and we'll talk about that later. But to me, ABA is a way of life. It's because we're looking at that environment and how we can reinforce and reward people and the individuals and clients that we work with. It's not about the number of hours. It's really that we have to buy into the philosophy and really do that philosophy throughout. And for me, ABA is part of good teaching. We see the best teachers, they're using the principles of ABA, whether they know it or not. And I hope this video works. And I'm going to show you what I think good teaching looks like.
George, seeking pi. No. -1, down, George. Tangent 5 pi over 6.
Kids call me Cal, Mr. Cal, and Cal kind of fits into what I do. I teach calculus.
Definite integral here, -2 to 2 of x squared minus 4 dx.
So when I became a teacher, I decided that, you know what, math can be made fun, dynamic, energetic.
Come. Very good. Go. 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 Keep face down. Good morning, families. It's good to see you. There's no place I'd rather be right here watching you become world champion.
Mr. Calavita is he's a great teacher, and that class atmosphere is different from any other class I've taken before.
No, ones go. 180, got it right there. Yeah, got it. Here we go. State the definition of the derivative. I didn't understand what you said.
Mr. Cal has really great methods in that we find his classes and his lectures to be very interesting, and we don't get bored. It doesn't make it at all dull. We'll use flashcards to test between girls and guys.
Second fundamental theorem of calculus. Got it! Yes, both ladies down.
We'll do theorems and we'll do trig functions. We've learned to do trig, to do any trig function within like 1 second.
Here we go. Ready, set, go. Extreme value theorem. No.
Mean value theorem.
Got it. Mean value theorem. Here we go.
First derivative test.
Got it. Yeah, very good.
It's very hard to get up and stand in front of the world's toughest critics, which is kids, every single day, and have them weigh your performance every single day, let alone all the other constraints that come onto you administratively and whatnot.
Have a wonderful day.
Have a wonderful day, Mr. Cal.
Thank you so much. Please be dismissed. Thank you.
He's making it fun and interesting and exciting. And good teaching is part of ABA. When you think of good teaching, what good teachers do and what good behavior analysts do is they provide motivation. They want to get you to become the best that you're capable of becoming. They want to reinforce you so that you are going to be able to produce the best product. Good teaching and good ABA gives clear and accurate feedback. And so you want to tell a student when they got it right, and you want to make sure that they understood that they got it right. And you want to tell a student when it's not as correct, and make sure that that feedback is accurate. Good ABA and good teaching provides assistance when necessary. And we'll talk about in a little bit about rigid ABA and other brands, but a lot of times we see over assistance. We're providing more assistance than necessary. We want to provide assistance only when it is necessary. Good ABA is hopefully developing independence. We want our children not to need us. When I started in this field, we knew we were successful, or I was told when we were successful when we worked ourselves out of a job. We wanted the child to be as independent as possible. And so good ABA is pushing for this. Good ABA is individualized. We should not be doing the same programs for every child, or adult or adolescent. We need to individualize the programs for each of our clients. It needs to be individualized. We have to do ongoing analysis, so just not at the beginning of the week or at the end of the year or every 3 months, but daily and even momentary analysis. And then obviously we need to adjust our teaching strategies based upon the child. If something is working, we should stick with it. But if something's not working, we need to move away from it and try something else to make sure that we can effectively teach. These are the qualities of good ABA, and these are the qualities of good teaching. In the field of ABA, we see a range. And so I'm sure some of you who have worked in the field of autism and the field of ABA see this range. And it goes all the way from a very rigid approach, and that's what I'm going to be talking mostly about today, but a rigid approach where we are so rule-governed that we have to follow every step of a protocol and we can't deviate from those, and we'll talk about that in a minute, all the way to lackadaisical. Maybe we're throwing in a toy occasionally. Maybe we're giving instruction. Maybe we're prompting. But there's a range, and where we feel is the best is in a structured yet flexible approach. We have a structure within each teaching session. Every moment should be kind of structured, but we have the flexibility to move away from that protocol, that approach, as the child needs. And what we really call this is progressive ABA. So I'm going to go towards a progressive model. I'm going to show you video. I don't know if you're going to hear it. Joe, if you can't, let me know and we'll go on. If you can't hear it, really just look and you should be able to see it just hopefully from looking. Here's the first component of progressive model. It's no singular treatment. So do you consider this, and if you can't hear, just hopefully you can get the gist from watching, is this what you associate ABA with? Feedback? Good job. Touch the bird. Awesome job, Cindy. Touch the bird. Wow, you did it by yourself. Here you go, 2 tickets. Here's another example of it.
All right, you are going to be watermelon. And you're going to be watermelon. You're going to be... That's not a fruit. I like it. You're watermelon. You're going to be a mango. And you're going to be a mango. All right, let's see.
Like mangoes and
Mangoes. Good thinking, Judah. Watermelon. Mangoes. 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 Go back and sit down. There you go. Cherries.
no.
Bananas.
No.
Strawberries.
No.
Watermelon. Good job.
Hey.
Mangoes. Watermelon. Mangoes. Watermelon. Fruit salad.
Here's a third one.
Everyone doing it the cool way or the not cool way?
Cool way.
Yeah, why was it cool, Aiden?
Because he got up when he heard the doggy sound.
Yeah, he got up fast when he heard the doggy sound. Okay, ready, set,
Action.
action. Everyone go to sleep. Tweet, tweet, tweet. Freeze. What do you guys think right now? Is Jeremy being cool or not? No! Good.
Here's another example of it.
Let's see, I want Huck and Elle. You guys are going to be partners. Elle, who's your partner? Huck, nice. And Ryan and Brayden are partners. So when the music stops, what do you need to do?
Find your partner.
Find your partner. What do you need to do, Ryan, when the music stops?
Find a partner.
Find your partner. When the music's playing, what should you be doing?
Dancing. Running.
Dancing and running around.
Did you ever see?
Good job, everyone found their partner. Let's see, shoulder to shoulder. Nice. Knee to knee.
Oh, to knee.
Silly, huh? Ear to ear.
Seeing a
Nice.
moose down by the bay, down by the bay.
Wow, found your partners back to back.
Back to back. Back to back.
Whoop, careful. Oh, there you go. Elbow to elbow.
Elbow.
Foot to foot.
Foot to foot.
Nice. Audible's
Tail
doing
with
it.
a polka dot tail, down by the bay, down by the bay. Did you ever see a flock?
Nice. Let's see, hands to hands. Nice. Going. Back to back.
Back to back.
Nice. Fingers to fingers.
Finger.
Wow. Okay, before the music starts again, this time you can find any partner you want. So, Elle, do you have to be partners with Huck?
No.
No. Ryan, do you have to be partners with Brayden?
No.
No, just find whoever's closest.
Wearing a tie, down by the
Wow, nice dancing, Brayden and Elle. Good job. Oh, you guys found different partners? Awesome. Let's see. Knee to knee.
Knee to knee. Knee to knee.
Nice, listen.
Knee.
Ear to ear.
Oops.
Nice. Let's see. Hands to hands.
My mother would say,
Nice. High five to high five. Nice. Giving high fives over there. Hugs to hugs. Nice. Low five to low five.
No five to
Low five.
No five to low five.
Nice going. Oh my goodness, you guys are doing so great. I think we need another starfish high five in here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Starfish! Nice job.
So when people say that applied behavior analysis is only discrete trial teaching, only sitting at a desk, drilling and killing them is what we sometimes hear, it's just inaccurate. Applied behavior analysis encompasses many different teaching strategies. We see applied behavior analysis as in group. We do a lot of applied behavior analysis work within the context of games and music and dance and those kind of activities. It's just not at a table. That's just a really rigid way of implementing ABA. So in a progressive model, there should be multiple treatments that are used all under this umbrella of ABA. And these can be such things as discrete trial teaching, which hopefully some of you are familiar with, the cool versus not cool procedure, where you guys are modeling appropriate or inappropriate behavior and having the learner rate if it was appropriate or inappropriate. Teaching interactions, which are explaining why a child should do it and having them practice with you and providing feedback. and such things as systematic desensitization, where you're teaching them how to relax and calm down on certain phobias. And because progressive ABA doesn't just have one type of procedure, but multiple procedures, staff must be trained in all the procedures. They must be well trained. They must be able to implement these procedures based on the needs of the child. And when I talk to staff and train staff and parents in school districts, I often say, the context matters. We have to know that certain skills being taught are going to better be suited for discrete child teaching, let's say. Where other skills we might have to teach it with another way, maybe systematic desensitization, and know when we should teach it with one procedure and when we should teach it with another procedure. Another big component is learning history, okay? We need to be able to understand when a child's successful with one procedure, and we might stick with that, and when they're not successful, we have to change to a different procedure. That's towards a progressive model. So the first part of a progressive model is that there's not one single treatment for children with autism. ABA uses multiple treatments. The second is we must have a structured yet flexible approach to implementation. And as I said, we see a lot of rigid implementation of ABA. I'm going to give a list, and I believe that the authors and researchers who created this list, they said it as guidelines. But today, these are being used as the gospel. People are following them as rules that we must follow, and it's making it a rigid implementation of ABA. So we hear such things as distraction-free, and that we have to have clear white walls, and children work in white walls because children with autism cannot handle distractions. This is an example of rigid implementation. Or simple instructions. We've heard that you can't say touch the ball or say touch ball, but you just have to say ball when you're trying to get them to give you a ball or give you a car, a picture of a car, or give you a picture of an animal. And there's times that we would use simple SDs, and there's times we should use more complex language. We've heard that discrete trial teaching and ABA should be done in one-to-one settings. And really, quality ABA should be done in one-to-one settings and small group and large group instructions. There are things that are going on now, counterbalancing, where if we're putting 3 pictures out there, they have to be in a certain order. Every trial, the order is predetermined. And there's times that we want to do this, and there's times that we don't want to do this. Formal preference assessments before sessions, we take 10 items, we put them out, and we determine what toys are going to be rewards or reinforcing for the student, and we have to do this every day or every week or every month. There's things like that we have set prompting rules. You always have to start with the most assistive or the most intrusive prompt and work your way down. Errorless learning, we hear this a lot, that children can't make errors and errors are bad and scary, and this is another example of rigid implementation. And then that you have to have continuous data only, that you have to take trial by trial data on every trial to know if the child's making success or not success. There's rigid implementation, and then there's just what I say is plain bad. In plain bad, it looks nice, but it's really a wolf in sheep's clothing. It focuses on irrelevant curriculum at all stages, shapes, colors, and numbers, when we should be working on social skills and play skills and self-help skills. It looks at things like only using food reinforcers. That we hear a lot of times that ABA is M&M therapy, and hopefully the ABA I implement, we hardly use food reinforcers. There's many negatives to using food reinforcers, but we hear this a lot of the time, that they work primarily in a therapy room instead of across multiple environments. Bad ABA is only done in therapy rooms all the time. We know that parents need to become experts, and bad and rigid ABA does not promote parents as experts. When we endorse alternative treatments with no scientific evidence, this is another example of rigid and bad ABA. Staff need to be properly trained, and we have to do it at the proper intensity. These are the things that are important to quality ABA. And so the structured yet flexible approach that I endorse is kind of like this man, or what this man used to be before, several neck injuries. Now he's sidelined. But think of Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or any real good quarterback in the NFL, Carson Palmer, whoever it be. They come up to the line every Sunday, every play, right? And the offensive coordinator says, you're going to run this play. They go up to the line, They sometimes run the play because that's the right play to call. But sometimes they use their own clinical judgment, their years of experience playing football. They look around, see that something's different, they switch the play. They call for an audible. And what they do is they're having a structured yet flexible approach. They're making their decision because they had a play in mind, but the defense had it perfectly aligned. So they had to make a different approach. And so if this can work in football, we know it probably can work in ABA as well. In a structured yet flexible approach, there's judgments and in-the-moment assessments that teachers have to make. So for example, on language, sometimes we have to use simple language. Sometimes we just say ball when we want the kid to give us a ball. But sometimes we're going to use more complex language, like where's the ball, or show me the ball, or find me that ball, please. Goes for reinforcement selection. Sometimes the therapist is going to select it, and sometimes the child's going to select it. Prompting, sometimes we don't want children to get it wrong, and sometimes we're okay with errors to occur. Curriculum. Sometimes we're just focused on decreasing aberrant or unwanted or undesired behavior, and sometimes we're really focused on only working on social behavior. And then finally, data collection. Sometimes we need to target every single trial, every single instance of behavior, and sometimes we know that we probably can get away with estimating the amount. And all these need to be on that continuum. And we have to be able to use the clinical judgment to know when to make these determinations. Now, I'm sure there's some BCBAs in there, and there's some behavior analysts who are, can't believe I'm saying use clinical judgment or use in-the-moment assessment. How dare I can't be a behavior analyst. And I think that's because clinical judgment has not been defined. For us, clinical judgment is a lot of analysis, a lot of assessment. And these are the factors I'm looking at. I'm looking if it's operant behavior or if it's respondent behavior. I'm looking, most importantly, what interfering behaviors are occurring. Are they not getting it right now because they're engaging in STEM or stereotypy? And if they're engaging in stereotypy, what do I have to do to change how I'm teaching? We have to look at why they're engaging in these aberrant behaviors. Is it escape maintained? Is it attention maintained? Is it for sensory needs? Is it control? What is the function of the behavior? Are they attending? Is it long in the day? Is it 5 p.m. and they've just had ABA for 8 hours in the day and they just had a lot of teaching and they're just not attending because they're purely tired. They're tired of listening to the teacher talk. Are they receptive to the feedback? Are they receptive to the teacher? If they're not, how can we make the teacher more fun? What is their state? Are they calm? Are they agitated? Are they still responding? We look at the data, both their recent performance and their past performance. We see how accurate they are. If they've been accurate in the past, we might go to an error correction procedure. We might say it's okay for them to make errors. If they have not been really successful, we want to go more errorless. We don't want them to make mistakes. We look at their motivation. Do we have strong enough reinforcers? If we have nothing that's reinforcing or changing the behavior, then we have to work on that. What does their nonverbal behavior look like? Do they look in it? Are their shoulders drooped? Are they not paying attention? What's the staff's skill level? Are they able to make these judgments? Because if they're not, then we might have to go to more rigid procedures. But our goal is to train them that they can make these judgments independently. Does the child give up easily? Does he persist and keep going at it? And then finally, the health. If I have a client who didn't sleep the night before, who has stomach problems that day, obviously their behavior is going to be different. And I have to use all these factors in deciding what to do. So we must use a structured yet flexible approach. We also cannot use a progressive and quality ABA. We cannot be eclectic. And as we know today, there are many interventions out there for individuals with autism. I'm just going to name a few, and we used to call it the intervention of the month. I'm calling here the panacea of the week. It's really the intervention du jour, because there's so many interventions, over 5,000 now, that come out for individuals with autism. Here are just some. Blue are most prominent, or at least I see. Checks are what have research behind them. You'll see the list. And I don't know all of them, so if you ask questions, like I think Big Ear comes up. I don't know what Big Ear is. These are just ones that are being implemented. I can't keep up with everything that's going on being implemented. Here's just some of the list. The list goes on. We see things like dolphin therapy being used. Brushing is common. Gluten casein-free diet's another one. Great research by Trish Smith and colleagues that show that going to a gluten-free diet does not change the symptomology of autism. You know, a fun one I'm sure was LSD, had really no effects for individuals with autism. We have prism glass, which are using RDI. Fish oil has been another. You have things like social stories being implemented, top 5 common with really no research behind it. Social thinking, which is really a pseudoscience at this point. And these are the things that are being implemented to individuals with autism. And parents and professionals ask, well, what's wrong with trying? What's wrong with trying these interventions? Well, for one, multiple treatments reduce intensity. When we do these multiple treatments, we know that we're being less intense, and good ABA requires a high level of intensity. Multiple treatments may sabotage or dilute effectiveness. When we are giving non-contingent reinforcement, brushing, putting a weighted vest on them when they're acting out and escaping, and we're just letting them escape, that might go against our behavior intervention plans. For parents, a lot of times they give false expectations. I was in a talk in Kansas City a couple years ago where I heard if you just did 6 weeks of chelation therapy, your child might no longer have autism. These are false expectations. And the only way I could think that this might be true is maybe that the child will be dead because of the dangers of chelation therapy, but there's no way in 6 weeks a child's getting cured. And ultimately, it's wasting money, time, and emotion. Parents are very invested in it. They're desperate. They want what's best for their kids. And spending on these interventions, something that costs $10,000 a day, it could be a waste of money. There's been no research that's been done showing long-term side effects. So some of them, we don't even know what's going to happen 3 to 7 years out. And then unfortunately, or fortunately, research is not supporting an eclectic approach. There's just no research shows that eclecticism does not work. In the 87 study, we found from Lovas that, you know, when we did pure ABA versus an eclectic approach, the pure ABA approach was better. And then more recently, Howard and colleagues did a study in 2005 and a study in 2014 which showed that an eclectic approach is not as effective as an intensive ABA approach. Therefore, a non-eclectic approach, not doing eclecticism, is a component of a progressive model. The next component is dynamic programming. A lot of times, behavior analysts, teachers, parents use these books. And I have nothing against these books. These are some of the hallmark books that are used in our field. Things like the Me book in 1981 is instrumental in developing the field. You know, I have a lot of people that come up to me and say, I love the 1999 book, A Work in Progress. I love We Use Your Father's Book. And I'm like, that's great. But there's some problems with this. The newest book that I have here, one of the more commonly, is from Lobos in 2003. When you think of it, that was 12 years ago. The Me book was 34 years ago when it was published, probably 36 years ago when it was written. A Work in Progress was written in 1998, published in 1999. That's over 15 years ago. We wouldn't want to use a cell phone from 1981, I don't think. We wouldn't want to use a cell phone from 1999. We wouldn't want to use a cell phone from 2003. We need to get up with the technology. It progresses. It gets better. So to use these books that are somewhat outdated is a little problematic. The other thing is these books are used as guidelines. They're absolutely used as guidelines. They're not supposed to be used as gospel. And too often we see people just following phase 1A, phase 1B, phase 2A, phase 2B, and not diverting. And then the third problem is we're not seeing people create programs. Audio might be a problem for this one. Just watch. It's an environmental awareness where we're just teaching a child how to navigate the environment, something that you would not find in
This way.
All right, so we're going to play slapjack. So when you see it, you have to match it. So here we go. All right, Addison, we're going to play. Swings. Black. Good looking, Claire. Dog. Fish. Good, Claire. Elephant. Giraffe. Good, Addison. Way to be looking. Nice going. And Addison, really quiet. Claire's really quiet. Good for you. Yeah.
Cow, snake, lion, whale, lion,
Good.
cat, dog, monkey, octopus,
Nice, Claire.
bird, frog. Good job. Hey, that's the way to sit. Way to go. Look at you. All done.
Hop. Good. There you go. Nice. Hop. Good. Yeah. Hop. Good job. Zebra. Good. Watermelon. Good thinking. Hop. Good job. Alligator. Crocodile. Hop. Good. Perfect. Hop. Good job, Brody. Waffle. Pancake. Hop. Good job. You got it. Listening for bear. Bear. Good. Really fast. Good job. Bear. Good. Bear. Yeah, that's so fast, Brody. Nice. Monkey. Good thinking. Giraffe. Bear. Yeah, better. Moose. Lion. Bear. Yes. Good job. Hyena. Giraffe. Elephant. Nice. You're listening. I went to the zoo and saw an alligator. Good. I went to the forest and saw a tiger. I went to the zoo and saw a bear. Nice going. iPad, go for it.
Shown very clearly that children, individuals make the best progress when they're well trained and when procedures are implemented with a high degree of fidelity. And I often ask parents and teachers, what are the characteristics of good staff? What qualities are you looking for? Here's what I'm looking for. First and foremost, I want to make sure that the teacher's fun. I think being fun is important. I want them to enjoy working with the individuals. This should not just be something that they're doing just for a job. The best staff I see are ones that are enjoying it and are able to engage with their students. I need our staff to be receptive. Teachers, parents, any staff working, they need to be receptive to feedback. Staff that aren't able to take feedback and adjust on feedback or who get defensive aren't really the best staff out there because they're not going to change their approach. I want our staff to be systematic. They need to be able to follow plans. They have to be able to create plans, but they must be able to be adaptable and flexible and change those plans as needed. And the only way they can do this is they have to be objective. They have to look at it objectively and analytically. They have to look at the data and use data to guide these changes. They have to be engaging, okay? We want them to be able to engage with the child. When I see someone doing a good job and the teacher just hands them over candy and says, good, that's really not good teaching. It's not good teaching. They have to be able to, be energetic, get that kid engaged and make the kid want to be there. I want kids crying when they leave our offices, not when, they're coming to it. We need our staff to be professional. We're in a bigger picture a lot of times. Staff are in school and home and community program. They have to dress up professionally. They have to interact with parents professionally. They have to interact with other professionals professionally as well. We need them to be creative. I don't like staff that just don't have any freedom to create a program or probe and test a program. If they have a good idea, they need to be able to have the freedom to create and probe programs. This doesn't mean that they're going to implement them all the time, but they can try out an idea and then talk to it to their supervisors. Reinforcing is important. They need to be widely competent. They need to know how to implement a variety of procedures. They have to understand big picture and little picture. And by this, I mean little picture. Why are we working on this program right now? Why am I teaching a child to copy me right now? And then understand, well, copying leads to this. It leads to better play. It could lead to better social skills. It could lead to better language. And this is the reason why we're working on these different skills. They have to be child-driven and be there for the child. And they have to understand the ABA and where we came from. Ultimately, for me, I want our staff to be able to do it. I see a lot of behavior analysts today that can talk the talk, but they can't walk the walk. If they can't do it in the seat, but they can talk about it, I don't care. You can know all the procedures and principles and definitions, but if you're not able to do it, we're not going to make the changes that we need. This means staff training is critical. And a lot of times we're hung up on hours. But how many hours does it need to be until I'm qualified to do it? Is it 40 hours? Is it 1,500 hours? Is it 3,000 hours? The answer is, I don't know. I don't know how many hours it is because it's individualized for the staff. I know that when someone is qualified, it's based on what they can do. It's not a time-based measure. When you can do it, you're qualified to do that procedure. If that takes you 1,000 hours, it takes you 1,000 hours. If it takes less hours, it takes less hours. It is a competency-based measure for me. How do we get people qualified? We give them didactic instructions. Coming to workshops, this is an hour. We can give this for 6, 10 hours, components of this, but they need didactic instruction, and they need hands-on training. They have to work with clients. If they don't work with clients and get feedback in the moment or shortly after the moment, they're not going to get better. And this thing is, it takes years of experience. I'm a better professional today than I was a week ago, than I was a year ago or 5 years ago. And we in the field have to realize this famous John Wooden quote, it's what you learn after you know it all that really counts. We're always growing, or hopefully always growing. And this is how, we can be good staff, and how we can create good staff members, is realizing learning never stops. I'm not going to go over this. I'm just going to briefly touch it. You guys have the PowerPoints. At the end, you can email me for the PowerPoints, which have it. These are some of the skills and modules we go through in training, initial training for our staff. And they have to be able to do all these procedures proficiently before they're able to work independently with children or adults. So they work on things like foundational skills, like how to implement simple limits. They work on things like how to provide it as a statement, not a question. So where's the ball instead of can you get me the ball? Because if you say can you get me the ball, they don't have to follow that. We work on things like tone of voice, making sure we're using appropriate tone of voice with our children, how to do appropriate pace, how to take data collection accurately, and how to use both proactive, things we do beforehand, and reactive teaching. These are the kind of things that we work for. And so for me, unfortunately, what we see out there is, in the goal of many trainings, in the goal of rigid ABA, is we're trying to create robots. They go into a protocol, they follow the protocol to a T, and it's just the same thing day after day, minute after minute. In our training in the progressive ABA, it's really to promote you to use your brain, to think, to be able to say, we need to make these decisions based upon these rationales. And I'm changing this because of this. I'm doing this because of this. I'm sticking with it because the child's doing well. We don't want to create robots. We want to create therapists who are constantly doing analysis and constantly making changes. When we get this to happen, when we implement progressive models, we see outstanding progress. And I'm going to show a video. I'll stop it if we haven't fixed the problem on our end. But here's a video from the 1987 study. You can tell that because I don't think many people would be sporting this kind of mustache any longer.
Ian had no words or communicative gestures. He had severe tantrums. He ignored and looked past people. He spun objects, flapped his hands, laughed excessively and inappropriately, and assumed fixed and rigid body positions for prolonged periods of time. With intensive treatment, Ian's IQ at follow-up rose more than 40 points to the normal range. Well, when we found out about his problems, we were told that he would probably be institutionalized at some point in his life, and we couldn't accept that, really. And it was grueling, really. I mean, because it was, I would say about 5 years that the therapy, 2 years very intensive therapy, another 3 of consistent, hard therapy, and you could see him daily changing. And that's what kept you going.
School. I play. I just stay in the sand, play with sand.
You played with sand. What else did you do?
And I just put sand in my hand, and I didn't eat it.
You didn't eat it?
Yeah, we don't eat sand.
No, it's not good to eat sand, is it? It doesn't taste real good.
It doesn't taste.
Here, 5 years after treatment, Ian is indistinguishable from his friends. His identity will not be disclosed.
How do you like 6th grade so far? It's pretty cool. It's a lot better than 5th grade. I know. Kindergarten was boring. I know. We had to just do little pace, little things like that.
The boys were asked to talk about their lives.
6th grade, but it's fun. I know. The work isn't that tough. I know. It's just that sometimes the homework. Yeah. One thing good about it is older kids can't pick on you because there aren't any. I know. What do you want to do when you grow up? There's a lot of things. I'm going to be a jet pilot, jet designer, or an architect. I'm going to be an actor and a keyboard player and a surfer. Yeah, that'd be cool to be a keyboard player, especially you since you're so good at the keyboard. Yeah. You should play guitar if you wanted. Yeah, maybe I should. Yeah, you play good at that too. Especially shaking a baby. Do you think college is going to be fun? Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. Yeah. That's where you usually find your girls that you marry. When are you going to get married? I don't know, but I don't want to get married right now, even if I was able to, because it doesn't seem fun right now, you know. Probably after college. That would be a cool time. Yeah. About 24, I'd say. Year after I move out. That's going to be me and all those parties too at college. Oh yeah, get to drink beer and everything, sneak the booze.
So your experience of having people come to your house was probably something you would just assume is a normal thing that a kid would go through. Right?
That's very interesting that you brought that up because I was thinking about that a few weeks ago, and I was thinking, like, really, until I was talking to one of my friends or playmates, that was just reality to me. It didn't even occur to me up until I was 5 that not everybody has a group of therapists that come over on a weekly basis. I was like, yeah, so when do your therapists? That's the first time I was really like, okay, maybe, that was when it started occurring to me, maybe this isn't something that everybody's doing. But that was just a part of life for me. I didn't even question it. like moms and dads.
The funny parts for me are he says he doesn't want to get a girlfriend yet. He doesn't want to get married. He wants to go to college. He wants to drink the booze. He wants to go to UCLA to drink booze. And you know what? He did go to UCLA. I think he went to UCLA. He went to some college and drank the booze and has a productive life. The study that showed progressive ABA that was effective was really Lovas in 1987. And what he did is he took children and did them into two different kinds of groups, an intensive ABA treatment group, which implemented pretty progressive ABA at the time. And what he did is he took these children and they received an average of 40 hours a week, so an average, not 40 hours, an average of 40 hours per week, plus parental expertise, plus a lot of oversight. In the second control group, or in the first control group, he took where they had, I think, an average of 10 hours a week, plus other treatments. And then he had another control group which had no ABA services. And what he did is he divided outcomes afterwards into what children fit in. Were they in the poor category outcome, the fair, or the best? And this was determined by 3 different levels. IQ, if it was profound or severe, fair if it was moderate or mild, or if they had normal IQ, they were in the best. School placement was classes for children with autism. Fair was special education other than autism. And best was general education without supports. And then finally, if you had an autistic disorder, you were in the poor. If you had diagnosis other than autism, like ADHD or depression, you were in the fair. If you were indistinguishable, meaning you didn't have a diagnosis, you were in the best. So whatever your worst one was, that's where you ended up. So if you had a moderate IQ, you're in general education without support, and you're indistinguishable, you would be in the fair, for example. Here are the results of this study. So the average, so the 40-hour week, you see that 47% reached best outcome. And the other, 8 participants reached fair outcome. Most of the students made tremendous progress when they received progressive ABA. This is especially impressive to me when you compare it to children that got an average of 10 in an eclectic approach. None reached best outcome, only some reached the fair outcome, and most stayed in the poor outcome. And then finally, those who received 0 hours in eclectic approach, you're not seeing the progress. The results should be interpreted to me, or the way I would interpret the results, is that when you get quality ABA, you're able to make tremendous progress. And quality ABA to me is progressive ABA. There's been partial replications of this as well. So you can look at this and you can get the slides and look at some of these studies. We did a study, or a program description, in 2011, which just talked about our model, a progressive model, and we found similar results. We found that across our different agencies, there's 64 students, and the majority were able to make best outcome. So what we've really found, and I'm not going to show you the video, because
Come on in, guys. Hi, Michael. It's Pollywogs. Come on in. Good morning. Hi, Ellie. Come and play. Okay, Travis, let's put your shoe back on. Okay.
One of the problems in autism and Asperger's is that children are often isolated. They don't have meaningful friendships. The kinds of friends they have aren't reciprocal relationships.
Play with your friend.
Oh, Travis, you didn't give it to him. Ask again. Travis, you're not listening.
When you have meaningful friendships, then you have a high quality of life. So ultimately, our social groups are to develop the social skills that lead to meaningful friendships that result in a high quality of life.
Everyone stand up. Good job. You did it. Nice job.
Uh-oh. Travis.
No. Travis, you didn't listen. Milo, you didn't listen. You need to stand up. In the beginning, no one was really playing with each other. They didn't seem to even be aware that the other kids were around. They were just kind of in their own little world playing. Red carpet! Oh, Brock, you didn't do it. I said go to the red carpet. typical for a 3 or 4-year-old to get upset, but the level of tantrum behaviors they were showing when they were asked to do something they didn't want to do was pretty much above normal expectations.
Hey, it's okay. Come here. It's
Let's see who's sitting so cool. Wow, we're sitting nicely. Let's see if this will work.
That's better. You
There we
can
go.
do
Let's see.
it.
Everyone say cheese.
The basic things we want to teach are the basic learning to learn skills, so being able to sit and wait with their hands back, controlling self-stimulation.
When I say good morning to you, I want you to say good morning, Rachel. Good morning, Sabrina. Sabrina, you didn't say anything. Hi. Oh.
No.
Oh, I think I missed the hair. Katie, go back to your seat. I'll hold it, Milo. Thanks. And go away. Hair.
We're going to try to catch the kids being good, of course, with reinforcement. So we're picking out toys and things that we think the kids will like and that will be specifically reinforcing to them. And then whatever our target behavior is, so the sitting, the looking at the teacher, hands to yourself, we're going to catch them and be delivering reinforcement for those things.
Good. I love that. Sitting, boys and girls. No. Are you okay? Some cake?
There you go.
Sit down.
Wow, Milo. I don't think we're expecting like change overnight, but I would say within a few months, hopefully we're going to, and I don't think it's going to go from 0 to 100%, but hopefully we see a nice gain in a few months. What'd you guys get? Food! Oh, what kind of food did you get, Sabrina? Okay, 1 lemon. What else did you get?
Bread.
Yeah, what is it?
Bread.
Red. Nice answering. Okay, that'll be $15. Thank you. Here's your change, Rock.
I've seen huge improvements in the kids in the past 2 months.
Check it out. Brock, you were talking to your friend. You get to move up. Oh, look, hold on, Brock. You get to move up to awesome. You were talking to your friend. Sabrina, were you talking to your friend? Yeah, Sabrina, you're moving up to awesome too. High five. Nice talking to your friends. Okay, you guys can keep shopping.
One of the main improvements is just that they are so happy to be here. There is very little crying now. They come in and they're happy and they're excited to see each other. Their affect has improved.
You guys, it's time for fun games with polygons. Everyone stand up. Find your partner.
Sabrina.
Good job. Grab it. Back to back. Toes to toes. Wow, such good listeners. Snickers and Hoots. Hug to hug. Good job. Come over here, Polywog.
Another big improvement is just the learning to learn skills. They're all able to sit and pay attention for longer periods of time, following group instructions and individual instructions.
All right, now we're going to look at our old lady song. Let me see what pieces I have. She was very hungry. I have a nice kitty cat for
That was quiet now.
Wow.
For reinforcement, we introduced this color chart system where the kids each have a clip and they move up higher on the color chart for good behavior or the different skills and behaviors that we're targeting for each of them, and they will move down for behaviors or things that we don't want to see.
No!
Oh no, that's not okay. No, sit back up. But yeah, that was not nice. That was not sharing.
Yeah, look.
Okay, so look,
I
you're
love
not on
Super
Super Kid anymore. Okay, you have to
No.
lose your cape.
What's really nice is in the beginning we were having to use a tangible or a toy every time they answered a question, every time they met a goal or complied or responded. And now, using the color chart, we're able to reinforce less frequently. So they're really starting to work on those generalization of the skills and needing less frequent reinforcement. Sabrina, check it out. Were you having fun with your friend? Oh. Super kid! Go get a keep.
Yes.
And Michael, were you having fun with your friend?
Yeah.
Oh. Super kid! You can go get a keep too.
We use corrective behavior when they're not meeting their goals, if they're not listening, not exhibiting those learning to learn skills.
You need to just put it on the right way. Put it on. Okay, go back to your spot, Travis. Who has the spider? Okay, so Travis, that's not it. You need to answer. So Travis, you're moving down. You're not on Super Kid anymore.
No cape.
No cape.
Research shows you learn as much from corrective feedback as you learn from positive feedback. You certainly want to have a balance and you want to have a blend if you want to have quite a bit of positive feedback. But using corrective feedback is essential. You don't learn if you don't hear it. No, that's not the right way to do it. It's how you do it. You do it in a supportive way. You do it in a constructive way. You do it, but you're direct, and you help them understand what's right and what's not so good. And so we're an advocate certainly of using corrective feedback. As a teacher, I don't know how you teach, but I like using corrective feedback.
And Sabrina, you can line up. And Brock, go line up. Oh, that's not it, Brock. You're not on Super Kid anymore. Bummer. Okay.
And Travis, you can line up too. There you go. Nice hands to yourself.
The first day, it would have been absurd to even try to go outside and be out there because they would have been running all over the place. And today, they're walking in line on the way to the park. They're playing games in the park. Even if a kid runs away, he's compliant enough to, we say, come on back, and he comes back right away. Just being able to work in different settings is really important. I think so many times people think of ABA as so rigid that you sit at a table across from them. And here we're in a group that looks really typical, and we're outside playing games. It's really nice to be able to do that.
And over a course of 2 months, now they start getting upset when they have to go home. They look forward to when the other children come, and they jump up and down. They're so excited because now they do have social interests. And now they see the importance of being around other children, the joy of that.
That's right. Good job. Way to go.
And knowing that they indeed want to have friends, and they crave that. And you know, from a social standpoint, they're going to be just okay. You know, as adults, they're going to be in meaningful relationships. Our children have acquired that love of social connection.
Go, Colorado!
What we really found is that when you implement quality progressive ABA, children with autism are able to make tremendous improvements. They might not all become indistinguishable, but they're able to improve. When we implement just rigid application, we don't see those kind of improvements today. So oftentimes when I ask a parent, what are they talking about? Why don't they like ABA, or an administrator or a professional? It's because they're talking about that rigid application, not that innovative, progressive kind of model. And when we implement this progressive kind of model, we can see tremendous improvements. And this is just not for individuals with autism. We see the same kind of improvements for individuals with developmental disabilities, Down syndrome. We've seen it for adults. We've seen it for young children. The field of ABA is just not an autism field. We see tremendous improvements when quality ABA is implemented across a wide range of participants. I'm sorry that you guys couldn't hear the videos. I will find a way to make them available. Thank you so much for your time, and I guess now it's open to questions.
Justin, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to quickly, first of all, thank you. Phenomenal presentation. One sec, I got feedback. So phenomenal presentation. And I think Joy has a few questions. Do you want to pick a broad one?
Yes, I
one?
actually only see one that came through.
Okay.
And the question was, is ABA useful for students who don't necessarily have autism?
Okay, could you hear that from Joy, or do I need to repeat it?
No, I heard it.
Okay.
Yes, it's absolutely useful for students that don't have autism. ABA is founded, there's studies on ABA with typically developing students, students with Down syndrome, students with intellectual disabilities, adults, neurotypical adults we've done ABA-based procedures. One of the first case actually I ever was on was, at the time, he must have been 2 years, this is 15, 16 years ago. He couldn't get a diagnosis. He was pretty high functioning. He had a sibling who had autism at the time, but they couldn't give him a diagnosis. He was too young. Obviously, we've come quite a ways today. And we did ABA right from the start with him because we didn't want to take the chance, of him missing quality intervention. So the answer really is, yes, it can be done with a wide variety of populations. Good ABA can be done to pretty much anyone.
So sorry, who said what?
We did have
Oh, okay, so we have another one. And so to build off that, thanks, Justin. And if you guys look at things like organizational behavior management or organizational psych, those kind of things, there's lots of research in regards to improving performance in the workplace. Things like everyday important issues like recycling. There's a lot of research in terms of how do we get people to recycle, decreasing waste. So I think it even goes beyond just disabilities. It's just what do we define as socially acceptable behavior, and then how do we help encourage that? So, and then Joy, there was another question.
Yes, and right before I get to that, I sent a link out for the survey, so everybody can look in the chat box to complete that. The other question is, do we have examples in our state of progressive ABA therapy in public school classrooms?
Okay, so that was specific to New Mexico. So do we have examples of progressive ABA in our schools here in New Mexico? And I'm going to put Marianne Trott on the hot seat here. So Mary, you're going to have to come over here to these microphones. So she's coming over here. Marianne is our school consult manager, and so she works throughout the state in terms of helping develop programs, not only behavior analytic, but just good educational practices. So I'll let her answer it.
So there are in New Mexico currently 34 PCBAs, is that about right?
Correct.
And very few of them work in school districts. So no is the answer. I mean, I think the UNM program, particularly severe disabilities and the autism emphasis, are large districts. Rio Rancho, the Albuquerque Public Schools, Santa Fe, Las Cruces are all working very hard to try to get that in place, but we're working at it. That's all we can say.
Okay. And then Megan, did you want to answer anything in addition to that? I mean, you're in the schools a lot. This is Megan Griffin, Dr. Griffin from UNM.
I would echo what Marianne said. I
Okay.
think actually, I'm relatively new to New Mexico, so Marianne knows the state much better than I do. But we're working on trying to build up capacity within the state.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Do you have another question, Joy? I saw a hand right here from. Do you have a question, a comment? Okay. I think you should be able to be heard if you speak loud enough for everyone.
I appreciated your balancing out rigid and flexible, but how far can you go on the flexible end before you become unanalytical, or you know what I mean, unscientific?
So yeah, if I'm hearing the question, it's how far you can go on the flexible. I think in no way am I saying go away from ABA-based procedures. What I'm saying is you have to make in-the-moment assessments and decide which ABA-based procedure is best at the time. Our staff here and the staff that I train, which are in school districts across the country and internationally as well, we really strive towards a flexible model. We have systems in place and we have tremendous oversight, and they're able to change from these procedures based upon training and based upon really assessing what's going on. I don't think when you go towards a flexible model per se, that you're losing any values, anywhere of your analytical ability, or you're losing the heart of ABA. You know, we've argued and have said in papers before, when ABA first started, this is really what ABA was about. When we're looking, at, you know, the work that Don Baer did, and Mont Wolf, and Lovas, and Achievement Place, and Sid Bijou, they were pretty, you know, flexible in their implementation. And being flexible is not being not systematic. They have a plan in place. They can just change and vert from that plan and probe and test as they go along.
So thank you, and does that help a little bit? So, and Justin, to build off that, is there perhaps maybe, can you speak to the issue of, there's this idea that within, you have to define what behavior analysis is and what those strategies might look like. And we often say Bear, Wolf, and Risley in 1968 gave us those parameters, and perhaps maybe what I want to say gal, but I get in trouble for saying gal. This wonderful lady is asking is once you move outside of, if you're so flexible, is there a point that you're moving outside of what we typically define as behavior analysis, and now it becomes that realm of maybe what we call eclectic or just straightforward not behavior analysis? So can you help put a parameter around how to be flexible within ABA?
Yeah, it's a very difficult question.
You're getting a lot of money for this, so
I feel like I want, you know, be a politician at this point and not answer. But no, I think I go back to is that within ABA, as long as you're doing the same procedures and the same principles, that's why I talk about a lot. As long as you're doing the principles that guide our science, you can have flexibility within it. I'm not by any way, as you can probably read some of my stuff or Google some of the stuff that we've done, I'm in no way saying that our flexibility is going to go and we're going to start implementing such things as social stories, because I think that's going away from our science. But if I'm going from maybe a more discrete trial teaching approach and say, you know what, that's not working right now, and I need to go to more natural teaching or incidental teaching to teach this skill, that's staying with our science. I think one of the most important things, you know, the Bear, Wolf, and Risley, to me, the most important thing about that, or what we found was the most important, was the word sum. It's some current dimensions. That word sum is so important because they realized that they didn't have all the answers with it, and that they had to have the flexibility that there's going to be other things that are behavior analytic. Now, people sometimes say to me, well, there's no empirical evidence on it. And I'd say that, you know, if you're doing a procedure that follows the principles of ABA, you're still okay. What I would love to do is when we don't have a procedure that has empirical evidence with it, which is part of the hallmarks of science and part of the hallmarks of ABA, then we need to start doing studies on it. I hope that answers the question. I'm not like the debate somewhat last night and the Democratic debates as well.
No, absolutely not. It's perfect. Do we have other online questions? Do we have any from the group here at CDD?
No, Justin had mentioned potentially sharing the videos. Would that be something that we would be able to share, Justin?
Yes.
Okay, so we will go ahead and post the videos with the webinar and the PowerPoint slides on the New Mexico AWA website for everybody to access as well.
Okay, well, with that, I want to again thank everyone for coming. And again, Justin, we appreciate your time and really do appreciate your expertise in the area. So thank you.
Thank you guys for attending.